Ashwin Navin, CEO and co-founder at Samba TV. So nice to see you. Okay, Ashwin, this is pretty exciting. There's been lots of discussions this year about TV measurement, multiple currencies. What's going on? Where's it going?
We're in the golden age of measurement, and it's following the golden age of content, which we've all enjoyed as consumers, but it's really completely destroyed the legacy measurement methodology. And so legacy incumbents, new entrants are going to reinvent this business.
Excellent. So let's talk about some of those people who are entering this business. Obviously, probably the ones everybody knows, Disney, Netflix. They're entering the advertising video on demand, AVOD world, in a big way. So what does this mean for advertisers?
Well, I mean, this is a watershed moment. And when you think about what Netflix and Disney are going to do this quarter, is create probably the largest pool of TV inventory that's ever been created in a single quarter. And it's an audience that's very valuable. It's very substantial in content that's extremely good and very premium, that's now available to advertisers. So what an amazing time for advertisers to be able to jump into something that they weren't able to buy. Of course, what that means is that we're going to want to know what the value is of that, how many people we're reaching, what the value and effect of that advertising is, which is wonderful because these platforms weren't very easy to understand. They were a black hole, but this transparency that we anticipate into some of these platforms will come very quickly, and that's a wonderful thing.
So what do you think the impact of that is going to be? It feels like it's going to be a lot of disruption for the current streaming space.
Well, by our data, what we see is that Netflix, while it is, as of this week in their earnings announcement, now king of subscribers, they took that mantle back. What we know is that people who don't have Netflix, which is a substantial number of people, are streaming a lot of video. In fact, by our data, we did a poll with Harris. People who don't subscribe to Netflix, 9 out of 10 of them are using an ad-supported service. That's all opportunity that Netflix isn't able to participate in today. So a ton of upside for Netflix. Disney, same story. There's a lot of people who would use it, if there was a lower price tier. And I think that's found money for those providers, but it's also a wonderful opportunity for everyone in our business to be able to participate and innovate in that arena from a measurement and from an advertising perspective.
And I thought Netflix would be happy with my viewing of Married at First Sight, that I alone would bring them enough income. But this is pretty exciting. So tell us about Samba TV and what you've been doing. I know you have a new partnership actually with Disney.
Well, certainly, this is a moment we've been waiting for a long time. When we first entered the business, the measurement business was totally locked up. It was dominated by one or maybe 1.5 companies at any given time. And the market's really opened up in a way, thanks to all of you who've decided that we've had enough of the past. We need to get on with the future. We've all looked in our own lifestyles and seen that we've embraced many different ways to watch video across screens and platforms. And it stands to reason that we would have many different ways to measure because a currency of the future can't be one size fits all. All of our needs are different. Every brand is different. Every marketing objective will be slightly unique. And the idea that there would be one currency that dominates them all just feels quite antiquated.
So tell me a little bit about Disney and what you're doing there.
So Disney is just it's a company that doesn't get enough credit for just how much scale they bring to the world. Obviously, it's a world-recognized brand, but they own ABC, they own ESPN, they own Disney, Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, Hulu. Probably, by our estimation, reach over 90% of the country. That's just in the U.S., but they have global reach across every screen and platform. And one thing that we can say is that having done the research, over half, about 60% of their impressions are actually now streaming.
Wow.
Which, relative to their competitive set, is a pretty substantial amount of volume of impressions. And they needed a measurement partner who was a streaming-first measurement company, and that's us. So we were excited to launch an innovative partnership with them this year that allows us to quantify their reach across all screens and platforms so that they can bring that to their clients and really bring people out of the legacy mode of buying, what is a hard to defend amount of linear into a cross-platform buy with cross-platform measurement to marry with that.
So tell us a little bit about, Laura, I was asking Laura, as we move into tougher economic times, are the things that marketers seek to measure in their media different, or what would you expect to see?
Truthfully, I think what we should do as an industry is we should not settle for what we've had. Now's the time to push hard on being able to answer the questions that we wanted to answer we weren't able to in the past. There's no sort of legacy incumbent that's going to block it at this point. The media companies are facing more competition than they've ever had, and what that means is that the marketers are in the driver's seat to push on the innovation that we need as an industry. We all know that it's no longer sort of defensible to say that we're buying linear only. We've done a ton of work on this and seen that when a linear buy is flighted, 95% of the impressions will reach less than half the audience, which means you can only get about half the audience, and they're overexposed. The other 50% is going to have to be reached through streaming and digital. But you don't want to do a sort of overnight shift from one to the other. You want to be able to do both and know that you're buying one incremental to the other. And so this is the time to be able to push on that and mandate it from all your buys. Like, what's the incrementality that your media vendor is bringing to you over what you've already got? And not only should you demand it, I think the innovation's already happened this year in 2022 so that we can actually bring that to currency grade and make it available in 2023.
It's a good point. Now, I always like to ask, I've got a couple of last questions. I'm going to ask you in a second about trends ahead for next year. But I always like to ask people, what's your USP? At Samba TV, you said these guys should be demanding. What can they demand of you, Ashwin?
That's a great question. So whether it's Samba or anyone else, here's what I would be looking for if I were in a marketer's shoes right now. Speed. Doesn't help when your measurement comes 6 months after or 3 months after the flight. Scale. Our world is very diverse today. The idea that you would slice by men, women, 18 to 49, age and gender, that seems very, very antiquated. It's very 1950s. We live in a very diverse world. Our measurement should be able to quantify and understand diversity. Holistic. We're not watching on one screen. We're on many screens. We're moving between linear and streaming and on demand. Representative. And of course, this is something that I think is probably the most important, is first party. We like to beat up Nielsen in our industry, but one thing we have to give them credit for, while they've been a currency for so long and while they'll be a currency for very many years in the future, is their first party. They paid their panel for their data. They're paid the people for their data. It is not good enough for a currency. A currency can't be a currency if they're buying data off the market, because that data might come and go. You have to be first party, and Samba certainly is. In its data. And we know that our users have opted into Samba. They've given us permissions for this data, and that will allow us to be currency through changing times as it relates to privacy regulation and appetite for data.
It makes sense. So let's look ahead to 2023 in the upfronts. What changes can we expect to see in future?
Well, it's something we've already talked about, which is that there won't be one currency to rule them all. We're entering a world where you as a marketer, us as a measurement industry, will be able to provide various types of measurement, whether it's top of funnel or bottom of funnel, whether it's using a third-party signal or it's using your own first-party CRM file. This is the time for you to be able to bring your data forward and to make that currency, make your own revenue currency. And that's something that will be possible in 23, not just in innovation, but if we ask for it, if we move the world forward, that will be the currency of 2023.
I believe we're not going to ask for it, we're going to demand it, Ashwin, as you just said.
Well, yeah, and certainly as it relates to the competition we now have, I mean, we've got Netflix just entering the market, you've got Disney entering the market, you've got a lot of great options. For us as an advertising industry, it is still a buyer's market and will be for the foreseeable future.
Perfect. Now, one last piece of golden advice you can give the audience of marketers. What will it be?
I think it's just reiterating. This is the moment when we should not settle for what's worked in the past. This is the moment to push. This is where competition is high. This is where innovation is high. Organize the data to go, be able to lean into your CFOs and say, we know our advertising works, and here's the proof, because the media industry is ready to innovate with you.
Perfect. Exciting times. So picking up on what you said there, make sure you have speed, scale. What you're doing is holistic, representative, and most of all, you need to get your hands on that first-party data. Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Ashwin.
Yeah.